All right, welcome everybody to another OkieTradez study session. So, first thing I want to talk about is multi-day breakouts, day 3 surges, multi-week breakouts, however they may come. That's pretty much what I think is hot right now, and I guess it doesn't have to be the perfect one, but I'm learning, even after years in the game and trading these setups that at least right now what the stock market is telling me is even on the stocks that I don't like, if they can kind of prove their worth early in the day, then maybe a mid or later in the day entry is good, because we've seen some stocks like, for example, here, I would say that this isn't a good day 3 surge candidate. And you may ask why? Well, for one, if you look at this candle, you can see these big wicks, right? So these wicks right here, these long shades, tell me that the stock has a lot of indecision. Probably, usually those things come from like bag holders or some kind of warrants or, an at the market offering, something like that. If we scroll back in the time, you can see that this stock, its personality is just a stock that has these big long wicks. They're just everywhere. Which, and on these other ones, it's a stock that made a big move but then failed. I really don't like to trade these type of stocks. However, if you notice the volume is outpacing any volume by a lot in the past, so that's always a key right there. And again, lately, like I said, these setups that I wouldn't consider great are kind of proving me wrong and just working without me. So I'm learning to adapt a little bit. And what I decided I could do is, right, so we have the breakout line. And what's that level? 270. So 270 times 0.2, because the stock is under $3.99, $4. So for me, it needs to close within 20%. So 270. So it needed to close at 216 yesterday for me to think that today it was going to break out. It closed at 225. So that was good, right? And you get a gap up. So that's good. But again, these big wicks made me say, okay, I need to go look at the personality of the stock. So I go back to day 1 here and I look at how did it make its move? Well, I really, really hate when the stock made its entire move in the pre-market. Because I don't like to buy anything in the pre-market. So it's telling me that it's going to run in the pre-market. However, again, I think it's kind of right now I have to adapt a little bit more than that, which I feel like knowing a stock's personality is not everybody knows that. So me having to adapt more than that just means that for me the market is very tough, but there's amazing opportunities still because guess what? Stocks are making huge moves. But I feel like I can't put money to something that I don't understand, a lot of money. If I don't really understand it, I can't risk $500 on it. If I just lost $500 in one click on something that I didn't think, well, the next one I'm going to win for sure, that would shake me a little bit. And so, I mean, eventually I'm going to have to learn how to risk 5,000 in one click so that I can make 50,000. But we'll get there. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves right now. So again, right, it set this high in regular hours. I don't care about what high it did in pre-market. But in regular hours, it set the high at 269, 270. And then the next day, it made a move up towards that breakout level. Failed, but then it closed again close enough to that breakout level, closed within 20% of that level. So it told me that today it could break out, but I didn't like its personality. So I just said, you know what? I'm not going to trade it. Day two, it did kind of clean itself up. A nice little first high day, respected it, made a good move. So it went from 206 to 255. So roughly a 50-cent move. And on this day, kind of the same thing, right? 195 to 260. So 65 cents, 50 cents this day, 60 cents this day. And today, it gaps up and you get this nice sideways action in pre-market. And then I'm usually not this guy right here. Oh, buy over pre-market highs, you know. But sometimes when you get that perfect entry and it's within that perfect percentage of this line right here is that breakout level, right? So we have this multi-day trend. We break above it in pre-market. We're within that 20% level to the breakout level. Clean wedge in pre-market. Breaks actually at the open. So, you know, I guess I didn't put it all together. But I've been working on something new, which I will get into at the very end. But I'm trying to drive this point home, not only to y'all, but myself, that some of these, what I call, um, like B minus C plus level breakouts that I wouldn't trade, um, are pretty good if they give you some good indicators, you know, around the breakout level, etc., etc. So let's go to NAAS. Now this is another one, China stock, right? So that really, if it's a China stock, then it needs to be a perfect breakout. Otherwise, I just don't even look at it. But right now, the hot theme is ugly breakouts can really take off. You can see right here the price is at 8, so right here. So obviously the chart's not showing it right, but that doesn't matter. It kind of is cool that you can see this breakout level right here. And today, it got close enough, right? Or yesterday, it didn't close close enough, right? So I think 646. So since it's over $4, it needs to close within 10% in my eyes. So 646 minus 65 cents is 581. So it needed to close at 581 yesterday, right here. And it closed at 530. So in my eyes, too far. Either a gap up to 580, you know, for my normal plan. But now I'm learning how to adapt. So I want to draw a line at 580. So let's go to the intraday here. So as you can see, you know, it made that big move. Then it started building back up towards this breakout level, the highest level that it's set in regular hours. Builds back up. And so we have this multi-day breakout level. Didn't save the 580. 580. Okay. So that's the 10% level of the breakout. So normally I would buy this first high of day versus low of day, and it's 4 minutes. It broke on the 4th minute. So it's a little bit painful to look back at this and say I didn't take it, but again, got to respect my rules. It opened too far away for me to do that, and it's a China stock, so no thanks. But again, it broke through that 10% level and spiked up to the breakout level. We'll back down through it and then created this kind of this nice little wedge just under that 10%. And maybe, I don't just nab it right here, but when then I see that wedge and then I see it spike strong and then come back through, I might take that one for sure and just keep the risk right here as if I bought it right here. And then once we got this big huge move through the breakout level, I would have definitely took the gain. But then it holds, kind of curls, but it's that V shape that I really don't like. And really I think shorts probably took a short right here because that V shape, they know it fails most of the time, but then they got crushed right there. So, this market, yeah, the stock did go from $5 to $9, but my goodness, like I don't really see like something super clear except for this right here. I'm starting to pick up on these variations of this setup. So again, IVP, right? And this was one of the ones that really set off this new wave of ugly breakouts that break out. So if you look right here's that first breakout, right? At 950 basically. So it needed to close within $1, we'll say. So it needed to close on this day at 850 for me to think it's going to break out the next day. Obviously, it said, the heck with what you're thinking and just broke out, right? So it's kind of set the tone for some of these other ones, and people started to pick up on it. People smarter than me because they picked up on it faster than I did because they took advantage of it today. Now, if I see something like this tomorrow, well, you can bet that I'll be taking advantage of it tomorrow, right? Today, you can see the price is at 1360, so the stock actually did break out, but the chart's not working right. Um, but anyways, let's look at the 15-day, 1 minute. And you can see stock made a huge move from, let's see, 550 to 1350, we'll say. So $8 a share. So we know that on the breakout day, it can go $8 a share. On the breakout day today, 1050, so it should have gone to 1850, right? And it got pretty close, 16 we'll just say. So not all the way, but again, this isn't something that I can use my main rules on because again, it's not how I would normally trade it. So 10% from 1485 is what? 1485, 10%, so it would be $1.49. Minus 149. So it needed to close at 1336, and we know it didn't. But 1336, we can mark it on the chart because when we see that it gets at least close enough to it, or maybe when it makes this big move from right here to here, you might take a nibble on something like right here, this high day versus this one. And then, something definitely very small because again, we get that V shape, which is, maybe it's a little bit W right there. So definitely maybe just take a little bit of a starter, especially with the precedence of breakouts. But then when we get that nice confirmation spike right up to that 10% level away from the breakout level, and it has that strong pullback, something, I'd be comfortable risking right here if I bought it over the high day break. So if I added right here, I could definitely move my stop up from here to here. And then, small size here, but, we just went from 1260 to 1350. So let's just say we're up like $100 right here. We only took 100 shares. Well, now, once we got this big move, we add, we pull, we come back through the highs. I can see myself pulling up my stop again right here, and then adding once it, because you see it drops. I'll zoom in. So I add with the stop right here. It pulls, gets back up through high day. I'm not adding right there, but then when it pulls and starts to curl again, I'm adding again. I'm up 100 right here. I add, right here, the stops are pretty close, so I'm not too much more of an add, so maybe another 100 shares. And, that adds whatever risk. 100 shares from here, 1330 to 1230, so $100 on that. So, and then 1260 to 1330, 40. So I'll lose 20 on that first 100, 100 on that second 100. But then once it starts to set that higher low and curl back up, I add with that new stop right here. I've got 200 shares, 1260, 1330. So halfway is going to be like, I'll have like a 1290 average, we'll say. 1290 average. And ironically, the new stop is 13. So no matter what, I'm a winner of 10 cents, and I'd only win $20, right? But better than losing. But then once I add, now I know I can add a lot more size. So let's just say 1340 versus 13. So I add 200 shares right here, 1340, and then that moves my average up from 1290 to probably about like 1320, and I got 400 shares from 1320, we'll say. Then we get this huge move up from 1320. We'll say we just sell it at 1550. So 1320. All right. Yeah, we got to remember 1320. And then so 1550 minus 1320, our entry, our average, equals 2.3, $2.30 gain, times our 400 shares when we weren't risking much at all. We made $900 right there, selling it up into that parabolic move. So again, small size can make a lot of money, because your first shares was 1260 versus 1215, so you're risking $50. And then you get this huge confirmation. So now you're like, all right, I'll just risk 100 here, and I'm only risking 10 now with this first entry because my stop is pretty much close to that one. Then we get this new stop that makes this one a winner and this one a small loser, so we can add double the size. And then we're at the 10% level. We're within 10% of that breakout level, so we know a pretty clean setup right here, which it is, could send it, and it does. So overall, this kind of thought process, I think, is the way to go, where you kind of have to actually trade the chart and kind of have some guidelines and just really, really take a step back. And I mean, for this setup to happen and to be with it, you have to watch it all day. So are you willing to do that? I don't know. But I did take one trade today, and it was based off kind of my new setup that I'm working on. Again, I learned it from a guy, can't take the credit. And he tells me that I'm not doing it exactly right, so keep that in mind. But he had a few too many indicators for me, so I just kind of took a few things off of what he was doing and just kind of focused on what I thought made sense. So right here, again, just like yesterday, we have the 5 EMA above the 9 EMA above the 20 EMA. And you can see that it's cruising up. It made a big move, right? So it went from 250 to 318. So 250 to 318, like a 70-cent move. And notice, like, all right, there's that 5 EMA. It's trending, holding that 5 EMA. And it's just been straight up spikes, cruising, 3-minute breaks, 3-minute breaks, 3-minute breaks. So we're not looking at that. Actually, it went higher, yeah. So 340. So it went from, once we had the 5 over the 9 over the 20, which was right here, and we broke above, was 250 to 340, so 90 cents actually. And when it had that strong pullback, right, the 5 EMA held strongly above the 9 EMA, and that 9 EMA obviously held above the 20. So, just like yesterday, what I say, I want a 4-minute sideways consolidation. We go 1, 2, 3, and it breaks on the 4th. So I bought it right here at 330 or 325, and I got filled at 330, a bad fill, that's what it was. But I tried to buy it at 325, got filled at 330 up here. I was risking 307, so we'll just say 325 versus 305, so 20 cents risk. So I'm looking for a 60 cents target. So 385 was my target, and I actually did the math wrong, but 380 was my target. So when I did the math a little bit wrong, so I sold it right here, which is pretty close anyway. So sold it at like 378. And again, when I bought it, oh wait, that's right. Yes, I didn't get slippage. Okay, now, so forgive me. I bought it right here because why? Ah, the blue line had to be above the red line. I mean, it's the same difference anyways. So 330 versus 310. So 20 cents, 60 cents. So 390 actually should have been my target. Dang, I did the math all wrong. So yeah, right there. 330, 310. So I need 60 cents, which means 390 target. And I get it right there. So either way, it worked, even though I messed the trade up and did the math wrong in the moment. You know, it happened pretty fast. Like once I started to see that, okay, it's holding, trending, I only had about maybe 1.5 minutes to figure out everything. So pretty good for just learning this setup and, you know, taking advantage of it. But again, so since I did good on it, I'll just keep, I didn't go like 2 for 3 or anything. I'll just keep the same size. I risked $10 today and I made 30 bucks. So either way, I still made 3 to 1 like I wanted. But mainly, I'm going to be looking for multi-day breakouts, or what I call, especially those ugly ones, and then seeing if I can't see what they're trying to tell me and then trade them later in the day, however, whenever they get to that 10 or 20% level within the breakout level. All right, everybody. I will see y'all tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed. Take it easy.